Second World War, 136 bridges spanned the Rhine River into the heart of Germany as the Allies chased the fleeing Nazis back into the fatherland. These bridges were methodically destroyed by Allied bombers and by German demolition teams. On March 7, 1945, a single bridge remained. What had once been an insignificant railroad trestle was now the single most important objective in the European campaign. This was the bridge at Remagen. What happened at Remagen?
Our favorite game Hell Let Loose will be getting a new update, and update 12 is gonna be huge. We've only had a few sneak peeks at the new content, but what we do know is that we'll be getting a new map, Remagen in Germany, as well as a night mode on several maps. So if you're a fanboy like me for Hell Let Loose, let's take a look at what's gonna be new in update 12. But first, remember to leave a like on the video and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already to stay updated on anything Hell Let Loose. And moreover, let me know down in the comments what are you looking forward to in the next update for Hell Let Loose. So first, let's take a look at the new map, Remagen in Germany. The battle for the Ludendorff bridge was one of the defining battles at the end of the Second World War, and it shortened the war by at least 2 weeks. I'm not gonna make this a history lesson, but I do want to put this battle into a bit of perspective. The Allied forces were surprised to find this bridge over the River Rhine still intact. Most other bridges across the River Rhine, as well as other rivers obviously, had been destroyed either by Allied bombing or by the Germans themselves to slow down the Allied advance. After conquering the Siegfried Line, the Allied 9th Armored Division of the First Army moved up towards the Rhine. As said, to their surprise, this railroad bridge across the river was still intact. Soon thereafter, the Allied forces were able to cross it successfully and establish a bridgehead on the eastern side of the river. No pun intended. And the bridge was still standing despite many efforts by the Germans to destroy it. The Germans literally threw everything they had at the bridge, but one could say that German engineering got the better of the Germans. Eventually the bridge did collapse several days later on March the 17th. But by then the Allied forces had been able to set up several backups, like a pontoon bridge, several ferries crossing the river, and a treadway bridge. In the description below you'll find a link to one of the documentaries I found on YouTube about the Battle of the Remagen Bridge and why it was so significant. This video by Mark Felton explains the significance of this battle much better than I ever could in this video. So after finishing this video, make sure you check that out if you want to learn more. And for those of you that don't know, there's actually been a movie made about this battle, the bridge at Remagen, in the late 60s. Anyway, let's move on to the actual map. Now if you thought that Purple Heart Lane was a challenging map due to the bridge crossings that you have, trust me, this one is gonna be a whole new dimension. The map only has one single crossing point and therefore it will be incredibly difficult to get across. Commanders, have your airheads ready. From the start of the battle there will be a direct rush towards getting this bridge. Because once a faction has actually captured that bridge, the other faction will have a sheer impossible task of trying to capture it. Also, much more than ever before, even if the bridge is not one of the selected points by the server, you still need to make sure that bridge is under your control. It is your only way across the river, and thus of the utmost importance to control it. I'm pretty sure that if you are on the lookout for enemy airheads while controlling that bridge, there is practically no way for the other faction to get across it. Whether or not it will be possible to actually build defenses on the bridge remains to be seen, but I do expect with some careful placement you should be able to build a fortress on this bridge. Secondly, for whoever holds the bridge, it's incredibly important that you have your logistics in order, i.e. get your nodes up and make sure there's a constant supply of ammunitions, so that your artillery can lay down a constant barrage of fire and deny the other side access to the bridge. I'm already seeing and hearing a lot of complaints about this map, and yes, it's gonna be really challenging, especially in the beginning, as everybody needs to get their head around the tactics for this map. It will be really different from any of the other maps in the game. For now, the only real way to get across the river is either this bridge or by use of an airhead. But in all honesty, I do like a challenge, and I think with some careful planning and well-positioned airheads, etc., you should be able to cross that bridge one way or another and actually capture it for yourselves. We should be getting this map on the PTE servers, and I really can't wait to get a look at it. Unfortunately, use of the PTE servers is limited with a non-disclosure form, so I can't show any footage of that. But even in that case, I will make sure to let you know my initial thoughts on the map. Now, Remagen is not gonna be the only addition in Update 12, as Update 12 will include night mode on several maps. For one, Remagen will include night mode, but we will also see it coming to Foy, Kursk, Hurtgen and Purple Heart Lane. Perhaps other maps will be included, but for now this is the information that we've got. This night mode will not just be a low light scenario. Instead, the developers have chosen for a fog of war, as they call it, which is kind of a low light concealment of the map. Also, the iterations of night mode will be different on each map, as the time frame is between 6 PM and 6 AM in the morning. This in turn will lead to different mood settings on each map, but also might even do so for different game modes. As say a German offensive will play at a different time at night than the American offensive or warfare mode. Night mode essentially adds new maps to the game as well, as the setting as well as the experience will be very different from what we're used to. The fog of war concealment means that flanking will be much easier, and it will also be easier to sneak up on enemies. With reduced visibility, it will be much harder to spot enemies from afar, so just that in itself will completely alter the battles. With night mode, a new weapon will be added to the game as well, the so-called flare guns, which will be available only to spotters with only one round of ammunition. During the battle, you can easily spot the difference who has fired which flare, as the Axis will have a red flare and the Allies will have a green flare. When you fire this flare into the air, it will start marking enemy positions on the map, much like the recon flight issued by a commander or the recon picture taken by a recon tank. It will mark enemy positions for 30 seconds in a 50-meter radius. The flare guns added to the game will be the Leuchtpistole 42 for the Germans, the SBSH-42 for the Soviets, and the Americans will get the Type AN M8 flare pistol. And let's be honest, apart from the recon mode this flare pistol offers, most of us here will be dying to see what this flare pistol will do to an enemy. I know I do. I'm really interested in seeing how this night mode will affect the battles, how they will alter when it comes to flanking and taking up defensive positions. I for one really think that the team play aspect of Hell Let Loose will be greatly increased because communication will be even more vital than it already is. What do you think that night mode will bring to the game? And how it affects the gameplay in Hell Let Loose? Let me know in the comments below. I'm really interested in finding out what kind of views everybody has on this. With the Remagen map as well as night mode, we've pretty much covered what we know so far about Update 12. But there are a couple of little things that we might be able to expect for Update 12 or beyond Update 12. For one, in Dev Brief 168, we've seen the M2 Browning heavy machine gun positioned on a half-track. I'm not sure whether this is going to be in Update 12. We might see it before or we might see it in a later stadium, but we do know it's going to come, and the addition of heavy machine guns placed on half-tracks will completely alter the way these half-tracks can be used. However, we have not seen a similar weapon for the other factions, so it remains to be seen whether or not it will be included in Update 12. When we look at the PC as well as console roadmap, we know that there's a number of things that have not yet been addressed in any of the dev briefs, let alone been added to the game. Now, I'm not really interested in the cosmetics or even the personal statistics, but I am much more interested in the new M4 Sherman, the Flak Panzer, the Jeeps, and the British forces, of course. And we were also promised 2 more Eastern Front maps. None of the development briefs have yet to address any of these additions, so it remains to be seen whether or not they will be included in Update 12 or beyond. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed the video. Let me know your thoughts about Update 12 in the comments below, and remember to leave a like on the video. If you want to stay updated on anything Hell Let Loose, remember to subscribe to the channel. All that remains is to thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.